Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the weekly Sadakaion program organized by Quantum Meditation Society London. Today we are talking about something that is a very familiar, well-known topic that we all know about, are involved in, but we don't necessarily think of it as a tool for our own self-development, to increase our own prosperity, to protect us from anxiety and depression and troubles, and that is charity. So, as I say, charity is something that obviously all of us are familiar with. If you're growing up, say here in London, if you're going to schools, in the schools my kids go to, often they would have days where the school would invite them to take whatever they can to donate to this charity or that charity. So they would do drives to gather stuff for various charities. Sometimes the kids would go themselves to donate. So it's obviously it's not something that we don't know about, and we participate in it either because we feel we have to or because we want to. And as we grow into adulthood, many of us have certain charities we may be regular donors to. So it's something we all know about. What I think will be new to many people is how much this habit of sharing, of giving, of engaging in charity on a regular basis can act as a tool not just for helping others, but to help us in many ways. As a tool to bring us more prosperity, more abundance, to help us bring more good fortune, so that the income that is coming in, the money that is coming in, we are actually able to make the most of it. Oftentimes what would happen is, like, you might be very wealthy materially, but you are sick. So all your money is going towards that. And in that case, your the actual benefit that you're getting out of the wealth you have is not that much. So in that sense, you're not that wealthy. So charity can help you with that. Charity can help you protect from various mental states that bring us down, such as anxiety, such as depression, uh, just plain feeling down. Charity can also help us purify our income, and it can bring us spiritual benefits, such as for for kind of the universe forgiving us for our sins, and giving us bringing us a peaceful state of being. The things that I just said is not something that I am saying, but things that actually have been said in every single religion. One of the things that I learned as I went through my journey with my mentor is that the essence of all religions is the same. Again, this is not something I had never heard before, but when you see all the fighting that goes on, it's hard to actually believe that. And sometimes you just think that, oh, this is just something that people just say to be nice. But as I had the opportunity to learn a little more, go a little deeper into the teachings of various religions and various spiritual teachers, with the help, with the guidance of somebody who I trusted, I believed to be a very evolved person. I began to realize, no, this is actually the truth. And the things that I just said is actually said in every single religion. So let me read just a few quotes from different scriptures. So remember, we were talking about the first point we said is like charity will actually bring you more abundance, more prosperity, more wealth. So in the Quran, in the Holy Quran, there is this verse in Surah Baqarah, which is, I believe, it's the verse 261 that says like, the charity, an act of honest charity is like a grain that sprouts into 7 years, each bearing 100 grains. So basically, what you're saying is like one grain of charity is bringing you 7 years multiplied by 100 in each year. So 700 grains are coming to you as a reward of that one grain of charitable act that you did. And then the verse goes on to say, and Allah multiplies the reward even more to whoever He wills. So 700 is the minimum for an act of honest charity, and then it can be even more. The Buddha said that if people knew that what I know about the long-lasting, everlasting benefits of charity, they wouldn't have their meals, like they wouldn't accept their rice, have their meals without giving something first, without giving something to charity first. The Rig Veda says that there are wonderful rewards for unconditional giving. Those who give receive blessed long lives and immortality. So it's not just wealth, it's also health. And then, of course, there in Christianity, there are many sayings about charity. It's a central concept to Christianity. And an act of charity is regarded as a reflection of the love that God feels for each person. So, because in God's eyes, every person is beloved, right? Every single being has the dignity of being a beloved child of God. When you are practicing in charity, you are honoring that fact, and that is bringing you a lot of blessings, and it's helping you to attain forgiveness for your sins. So let's go by one. Like, why does charity bring wealth? Why does charity bring prosperity? This is very interesting. My mentor, my guru, he has a very interesting, colorful life. He went through many professions. Every profession he went through, he was engaged and he rose to the top. But alongside doing that, he was always seeking. So he was a seeker, and he went and um, learned from Sufis and yogis and Buddhist monks, until he came to a point where he was ready to teach himself. So he said, when he was at some point, he was working as an astrologer. Before that, he was a journalist, and he said, what I would do, like when I was engaged in my own business, when I was an entrepreneur, every time my income flow kind of became a little bit less, I would go and spend a lot of money. That's counterintuitive, right? Like normally when the people would say like, oh, like when your income flow is less, like hold tight. But he said, I would like go and take my wife and buy her jewelry. So there are two aspects to that. One aspect is like when a businessman is spending, what do people think? Like, oh, he must be people here, and especially in Bangladesh. And the earlier it was the more close knit the society was, so the more, things about people who travel to other people, right? Facts about information, news about people who travel to other people. So when he spends, when people see him spending at the jewelers, what do people say? Like, oh, he must be earning very well. That's why he's spending. So his business must be going very well. And then if you think like someone's business is going well, that you think that, oh, he must be good at what he does. He has a successful business. So whatever he is selling or whatever service is providing, it must be good, right? So that on a very surface level, that would attract more clients. But at a deeper level, it's very important to understand that money or wealth is an energy that needs to flow. It needs to flow. It needs to exchange hands. And it's not something that is meant to be stagnant. You are not supposed to just keep it like stuck somewhere and not do anything with it. Like, yes, you can invest and you can earn, income, but that income also, if you're just very tight and you're afraid to part with it, that wouldn't bring you benefits in the long run. So what happens is like when income flows out of it, my guru said it's like a vacuum being created. How do cyclones happen? Like when they happen because there is a vacuum in the atmosphere that's been created, maybe because it's been very hot and the air had risen up, and now there is low air pressure. And what happens when that happens? That happens, things start flowing towards that vacuum. So that's why, so my mentor, my guru would say, like, that's why then income starts coming in. At yet another level is that when we talked about manifestation, we said that manifestation is all about your energy, right? So whenever you are giving something, it takes you to the energy of a giver, right? You are like, you think you're so poor, okay? You have like this one date and you feel miserable and you feel like you don't have anything. But then this little boy comes who is like out on the street and you give him half of your date. What's happening then? What's happening then is your subconscious mind realizing, no, I have something to give. I am a giver. When you get in the energy of a giver, truly getting the energy of a giver, if you're kind of, sometimes people, they do stuff because they have to and they're giving it, but inside they're grumbling, then that energetic shift might not happen. But if you did it with your heart, then that energetic shift that will happen within you will attract abundance towards you, money towards you, wealth towards you. So that is why, if you want abundance and prosperity in your life, you should ask yourself, what is it that I have to give? And what you have to give doesn't have to be just money or material possessions, although those are always great things to give. But It can also be your smile. It all can also be your service. I remember I reading about this one woman who, who is to crop, up in my social media feed. So I think she was, when I saw her, she was kind of somebody who was known as an influencer. She was a mom, and at that point, she had a successful business, and she was a successful mom, and her first marriage didn't work out, and she was kind of left alone and with kids, with no job. So she went through these hard times, and by the time I began to know her, she was already very happily remarried. Her kids were doing well. Her career was doing well. So she talked about this pivotal moment in her life. Like she was feeling extremely miserable after, her first husband left her, and she's like a single mom with these very young kids with no clear idea about what she was going to do work-wise and so on and so forth. So one day she asked herself that what is it that I can actually do? What do I have to give? So she thought about it, and she thought, okay, I've had to do with not much money for a long time, and I've become quite good at creating very good meals with a very small budget. So why don't I try that? So she said, next Tuesday or Thursday, she declared a date. She said, going to I'm going to um, uh, make a meal for quite a few people in my home, and whoever is interested is welcome. So she just did it as something she could give. Like she prepared a meal, and she just told people word of mouth that, if there's someone who is alone or somebody who needs food, he or she is welcome to come. They're welcome to come. So at first she was thinking, oh, what am I doing? I'm crazy. Nobody will come. Why would just people come to this strange person's house? But one after another, people started coming, and she felt so good after that meal, um, that she had something to give. And she said, after that, I never looked back, because that showed me, yes, I have something to give, and gave me the experience of how it feels to give something to make other people happy. And then from that, I took that feeling. Based on that, I kept doing more and more things, and I became very successful in all aspects of my life. So it can be anything. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. So that was that was how charity brings more prosperity, more abundance. It also, charity, if you're facing, and all of us face trouble, setbacks, just something coming out of nowhere that kind of messes up our plans. Charity, all religions say this, that charity is something that will help you protect yourself from these unwanted troubles. So so this is a true story. Okay, so it's of a man who's from Bani Israel, meaning a um, Jewish man. So this is from a few centuries ago. So he had this dream. I'm assuming he was somebody who was quite close to the universe in the first place to be having these dreams. So he dreamt that one part of his life will be filled with money and abundance and luxury and so on and so forth. And then there will be another part of his life where he will be in poverty and misery and troubles and so on and so forth. And in the dream, he was asked that, what do you want first? What do you want first, right? So imagine having this dream, and I don't know what answer would you give? I think a lot of people will think that, oh, I'm going to be smart and I'm going to have the poverty first, and then I can enjoy the luxury later. So the man, he shared this with his wife the next day, and I guess his wife was quite wise too. They discussed this, and then they decided that they are going to ask for wealth first. So when the man went to sleep the next day, he had the same dream, and in the dream, he saw himself asking for the wealth and abundance first. And sure enough, soon wealth just started coming to him. His business grew, lots of avenues for became wealthier and wealthier. One thing he didn't do though is try to grab onto his wealth too much. It started coming, but he yes, of course he saved some, spent on himself, but he also made made very good use of it to help other people. He gave it to charity from his heart. So he shared it in a good way. So after many years of this, um, he's now expecting the other half of his life to start, right? So he's supposed to have this part of his life where he's going to be poor and miserable and so on and so forth. But nothing like that seemed to be happening. Like he was just becoming wealthier and wealthier. So his fortunes were not changing. So one day he had this question in his mind, like, what's going on? I have this dream. So one day he dreamt again that he's being told that because he's been such a giver, such a sharer, such a good giver, such a good sharer, because he's given so much to charity, it's pleased Allah, God, Bhagwan, Jehovah, the universe, whatever it is that you prefer to call the Almighty. And because he was so pleased with his charity that he decided not to give him that part of your life where he was supposed to have poverty and misfortune. So charity can change these things in your fate if you believe in such things, in fate and so on. But your acts, charity can definitely create a shift in the path that you are going to if you do it from your heart. Uh, Another thing that charity does is like give you a sense of peace, relief, and anxiety. And as we just said a little while ago that whenever you give, there's this shift where you start seeing yourself as not somebody who is a victim, who is needy, who is helpless. You shift from that to seeing yourself as somebody who has something to give. So anxiety and depression comes from this sense of powerlessness. When we dwell on our powerlessness a lot, consciously or unconsciously, maybe there's something's happened to us because we can't really dwell on the other things as much. But for whatever reason, if we're dwelling in that, then there is a lot of anxiety in our lives. But if in our inner being we are feeling that joy that somebody who has a lot to give feels, then that and anxiety cannot cannot exist together, right? You can't feel powerless and powerful at the same time, right? So the more you give, no matter how little you have, if you give little bits of little bit from the heart, the more you're in that state where you feel more powerful, you feel like you have something to give, the less anxiety and depression and misery touches you. And then the last point we were making about how charity helps us is that it kind of helps us gain forgiveness from our sins. So there is, the word sin is quite heavy for a lot of people. When I was growing up, it definitely, because there are people around us who make religion appear to be, or religion or spirituality appear to be very heavy, judgmental about punishments and so on and so forth. So many people, I think, like, oh, when you hear the word sin, you might feel like a sort of a rebellion arising in you. But there's this lovely definition of sin, and the literal meaning of sin is missing the mark. Missing the mark. I interpreted it as just being out of alignment. In my journey, it's really, I think, like sunk in more and more, like the best thing you can do for yourself for a happy, fulfilling, successful life is to be as much in alignment with the universe as you can. And the universe's energy will be always guiding towards whatever is best for you. So, so sin is simply the act of falling out of alignment, which we all do all the time, because we all have this part of ourselves that is kind of separated from others, sees ourselves as separate beings, and we're very concerned about ourselves and our own insecurities, and we feel helpless. We don't know what will happen to us. That makes us not be nice to other people, not be good parents, good wives, good workers, um, good at many things, right? So not good at many things. So because of that, we fall out of alignment, and that is sinning. So what charity does is simply bring you back into alignment, and the universe is always very happy to to the universe just wants you to come back to alignment. It's always very happy to forget about, this is what I believe, or that what seems my experience seems to indicate, is the, when I previous times you have fallen out of alignment usually. So that is why, charity charity helps you get your sins forgiven. And as we say, like, as it's in the Gospel of Peter. It's so beautifully said that the practice of charity brings us to act toward ourselves and others out of love alone, precisely because each person has the dignity of a beloved child of God. So whenever you are acting out of love, you're not acting out of your own insecurities, but you're acting out of the love that binds all of us together. It will bring you all the things that you want when you are insecure too, because the way to attract all those material things that we normally want is to tap into this immaterial wealth that we all have all the time anyway. So that's charity. Now, any charity is good, but like we talk about something called pure charity in quantum, where we public is also okay, but the more privately you do, the better. Like, that saying in Christianity, like, your one hand shouldn't know that you're giving with the other. So that kind of prevents you from the risk of like your ego being involved in this, or people will think of that I'm such a great philanthropist and so on and so forth. If you sort of your intention becomes a little impure, it affects every aspect of your life. So I think private, it kind of ensures that it stays pure, your intention stays pure. Um, it doesn't matter how much you give, it's like how you feel in your heart. people normally, everyone wants to give. They think like, one day I'm going to be super rich and then I'm going to be a great philanthropist and so on and so forth. Typically, it doesn't happen, or even if it happens, we often find ourselves doing it for selfish reasons rather than pure reasons. Uh, and then, um, and then, you know, if you want to give purely, give and then forget about it. Like some people, it happens like you give somebody and then you're reminding, trying to make them grateful, kind of giving them some reminders or insulting them. And the Quran explicitly said it's better not to give than to give somebody and then sort of remind them or make them feel small in some way. So in quantum, we have sort of made it a part of our lives. So all of us who are kind of been with quantum, we have this charity bank program through which we donate, and actually encouraged to donate every single day. Like we typically start our days with giving something to charity, and that helps us start our day in the best way possible, with the best inner state as possible as givers, and protects us from the ups and downs of the day, you know. So and we have lots of different sort of funds. This charity bank fund that we do, it helps fund lots of amazing programs. One of them is a residential school that we have in a very remote part of Bangladesh, where which are kind of when this school started, like there was an electricity there weren't paved roads that went to that part of Bangladesh. The people in the area are some of the most deprived. There's some of the various indigenous groups of Bangladesh who are economically deprived. They're deprived in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, and these kids are now growing up and doing absolutely amazing things. Just in the last few months, one kid, he represented Bangladesh in the international math competition. I am it's not the Olympiad, but it's a math competition. It was held in Doha, Qatar, and he was selected to represent Bangladesh, and he got a silver for Bangladesh. Uh, um, Recently, the Bangladesh national level gymnastics competitions were held, and there were about 116 medals in total. Out of that, this school, they are 96, I believe, medals. So they're just doing amazing things, because obviously being something that was founded by quantum, they have been taught the power of belief, the power of manifesting, the power of inner being right from their childhood. So they are super, super, super high achievers. But this is totally funded by individual donations, like people donating through their charity banks. And then we have a host of other programs. And when I think about this particular school, because I live in a country, the UK, which is famous for its boarding schools. It has all these world-renowned boarding schools, and and to think that in a remote part of Bangladesh, what we're doing, through that school, through the after-school clubs, is, in my mind, not so far from what these schools are doing, because the people who go to these schools are coming from affluent families. They already have a lot of belief, but these kids, you have to create the belief from the ground up. So it's in terms of the change it's bringing to people's lives, it's just, in my mind, it's just unparalleled. It's just absolutely unparalleled. So we get to participate in that through our donations. So we do that, and our charity has magical, magical effects. Like it just seems like ridiculous at some points. Like so we're encouraged to, like, if you say, like, if we're in some trouble, to pledge a little bit of donation to your charity banks, and then to see what happens. So in my life, I'll give you a few examples. So this is my engagement ring. So I have this tendency to play with it. So I play with it. So this was many, many years ago. I lost it in my home. And it was several weeks. I just couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, maybe it's lost, or we'll see. But then one day I'm like, okay, why don't I pledge a little bit of money and see? Like within the next hour, I found it in the crease of the sofa. Another time again, this is like these gold things. So I went to a wedding and I was wearing a gold necklace or something. So a chain, I think. So I was wearing a gold chain, and then suddenly I found that the chain was not on my neck anymore. Then I was like, what am I going to do? It's a busy wedding. You know about these subcontinental weddings, they're super big and super, super chaotic in some ways. So where is my chain? Again, I pledged a little bit of money, and then suddenly I found it hanging from my sari. So it's like people have been, I don't like there, I literally can give you like thousands of examples of much bigger things. Like people have been diagnosed with a serious illness. After pledging, they saw that, oh, there was something wrong with the diagnosis. People have been taken to the surgery for a C-section, and then after pledging, the doctor said, oh no, you can't have a normal delivery. So just there's so many amazing stories. You can read some of them on our website. So try charity. If you want to give through Quantum, great, super duper, get in touch with us. We'll tell you how. But try in other ways to give, make charity a regular part of your life. Give something that you really believe in, that you believe that they are doing good work, that your charity won't be wasted, and do it out of the feeling in your heart, no matter how much you're earning, and try to get not get your ego involved in it. So better to keep it private and just see what happens. And then it doesn't have to be money. Think of what else you can give. So make it a regular part of your life, and you will see how much your life changes. We always think that only if this happens, then I'll be free, and then I can give, and they can give my time, and then I can do this, then I can do that. But then the life is such that that time never comes. The human beings are made in such a way that we just think like, oh, after this, I will do this. After this, I'll do this. After this. But our mind always keeps on going after this. We're always like, there is this thing called the arrival fallacy that researchers talk about, that we always think that we'll arrive at a state and then things will be okay. Arrive at a state, but it is an let's say something, it's something that is fundamentally in our constitution that makes us think that way. And if we're not very self-aware, if we're not consciously trying to not be like that, we spend our entire lives like that, being in a rival fallacy, thinking that after this I'll be free, after this I'll donate, after this I'll do this. Okay. So start today, start giving today, and just see how your life changes, how your life changes. So I hope that this is something you found inspiring and something you will give it a try. And and if something good happens, let us know. We'd love to know, because we have thousands of stories, and we'd love to know your stories too. Okay, so that was our little talk for today. I hope you will give it a try. We're going to start our meditation now. Our meditation for today will be happiness, and where you'll get a little chance to think about what you have to give. So as always, give me a little time. I'll play the meditation, and if you have any problems with hearing the meditation or some other problem, please let me know in the chat.